We've gotten this far without ever having looked at our inventory, but I think it's time we did that now. We have a weapon, we've explored the world some, we've made a kill, and I'd like to start looting, hoarding, crafting, and building. So what is the storage capacity that my character has? If I hit the lowercase I key, I for inventory, it's going to show me what I'm carrying on my character. This is sorted. I think I can hit the S key, or it is the semicolon key. There it is. The semicolon key will change the sorting order of your inventory in various ways that aren't yet pertinent, but I just want you to know about that. I also want to say that from the inventory screen, as from all screens, we can press the / key, which will actually bring up a little search menu down here. So if we have a lot of things in our inventory, we can search for them. If I don't know where my wallet is or whether I have one, I can type wallet down here after pressing the / key, and that's going to give me wallet apparently twice, because it is in a worn item and because it's a wallet in its own right, apparently. Just something good to know. Anyway, checking my inventory, I see that we're holding this golf club and we're wearing boxer shorts, which have no pockets, and jeans, which do have pockets. We know the jeans have pockets because they get a remains and max length indicator. This is telling us how many liters of storage we have left in the pockets of the jeans and how many pounds we can continue to carry in them. And also the max length of an object we can put in those pockets. So this seems complicated from the perspective of playing a game, but it just makes sense from the perspective of our real lives. This is telling us that we cannot put a quarterstaff in our jean pockets, and we can't put a baseball bat in our jean pockets or anything that's longer than 7 inches. And we also can't put something that has too much volume, so we can't put, let's say, a gallon jug in the pockets of the jeans. The scorpion ornamented jacket contains a wallet, and it has a little bit of storage capacity left also. It also has a max length of 3 inches and 4 pounds and half a liter of volume remaining. So the jackets of the pockets of the jacket, as you might expect, are about big enough to hold cigarette packs, cell phones, wallets, and that kind of thing. Nothing else in our inventory is giving us volume indications, so those are all the pockets that we have. There's a summary at the top of the screen which tells us our total volume storage is 5.46. That's not a lot. So what we might need is a backpack. I'm going to teach you how to create probably the simplest and most accessible backpack related storage item in the game, using window curtains. The reason I like this recipe is because it's going to use none of our skills to craft. So any character, regardless of his statistics, skills, backgrounds, proficiencies, etc., can make this craft. It requires no tools, so even a starting character can create it using no tools whatsoever. And it's got a little bit of storage capacity just to get us through. It's very nice to know. So let's start with that. We already know how to examine things. In this case, when I type the examine key, we get multiple options. The reason for this is because the examine menu is, or the examine command is going to look around the character and ask us, well, what do you want to examine if there's multiple options? For some reason, it's going to allow us to examine these counters. We didn't do this when we were covering the examine key, but any flat surface, table, workbench, countertop, this kind of thing, is a place where you can craft items. We'll get deeper into why we want to use a crafting surface later, but for now, just know that that's why the examine menu is giving us multiple options. So I'm going to type E for examine and look at this window. As before, I think it was the first episode of the tutorial, we get the option to tear down the curtains. This time we're going to do it. So we've torn down the curtains. We're going to need 2 more keys in order to be able to craft a backpack and put it on. So first, let's craft the backpack. The crafting menu is accessed by hitting Shift 7. That's the ampersand key. We are greeted by a giant black screen. If you already know what you want to craft, you don't have to search through these menus looking for it, which is kind of nice because I don't know where this recipe actually lives. I suspect that it lives under the Armor tab. I can scroll over to the Armor tab and take a look. And as a matter of fact, is this craftable too? Let me look. As a matter of fact, we could also make a makeshift knapsack, it appears. This is one of my other favorite recipes, although it requires one extra ingredient. And we have to remove our pants in order to make it. So this is all of the craftable items under the Armor tab. The knapsack is telling us that we need no survival skill at all, which is a funny indication in my mind. It gives us a time to complete the craft. And tools required is an interesting one because we don't have any tools on us at all, so we need crafts like that. It's telling us that we need several components. Now, a fun thing about Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, and it's one of my favorite things about this game, is that there's more than one way to craft something. So when it tells me that the components required, one long string and one jeans, it's highlighting the items that we have and telling us that this is a craftable recipe for us, which is nice. What we're basically doing is we've taken our pants off and turned the bottom ends up, tied them off with a string, and then passed through the belt loop so the knapsack can be carried on the back. Yes, we're just basically tying our pants up with a string and using them as a backpack. Let's see, the volume here is 2. Now that's the volume of the item itself. I want to scroll down and see how much it's actually going to store, which is down here. Total capacity 10 liters. So good to know. For our purposes, we can craft this now, but I want to highlight the fact that if we didn't have a long string, we could also use a cordage piece, leather lace, or 300 heavy-duty thread, or let's say 6 short cordage pieces, or 6 short strings. Because, after all, if you didn't have one long string, you could tie 6 short strings together, right? Now, this is also telling us that if we don't have jeans, we could also craft the very same item, exactly the same item, using army pants, cargo pants, checkered pants, pants, or striped pants, or work pants. So having additional ingredient possibilities is a feature very unique to Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead in my mind. The recipe that I was actually looking for is this one, makeshift sling. So once again, we have no skills required, and we have no tools required. We can use a sheet, or a blanket, down-filled blanket, electric blanket, emergency blanket, fur blanket, patchwork quilt, or quilt. Now we have a sheet nearby to use for crafting because we tore down the curtains, and those are the component parts of the curtains. A curtain is basically just a couple of strings and some sheets. The other recipes we see here for our armor is a pair of sock mitts requiring a pair of socks. Now basically, I'm going to read the description, a pair of improvised gloves made from socks with holes poked through them. And so there you go. You can pull your socks off, tear little holes in them for your fingers, and put them over your hands. The rag tunic is an easy one. This also requires no skills. Now it says that the skill is tailoring, but it requires 0 tailoring. This means that crafting this will actually practice your tailoring skill. So there you go. But it doesn't require any proficiency to begin with. This is a sheet and a long string, but it's done differently. A poorly made long tunic with a string tied around the waist to keep it all in place. Now, if your character started out fully nude, this would be a fashionable way to get some coverage. The rioter mask is another easy craft. Basically, we can take our shirt off and tie it around our face. So, I'm trying to decide now because I didn't realize that I didn't need any tools to make the makeshift knapsack. Do I want to make the makeshift knapsack, or do I want to make the makeshift sling? And I think the answer is I don't want to take my pants off because I'm using those for storage already. So I'm going to make the makeshift sling from the nearby sheet. I pressed enter on that recipe and it crafted almost immediately. Some of these crafts take a very long time to craft, but that's a quick one. So you notice that the sheet was moved to the countertop. Now this goes back to using countertops for crafting. This is going to be a default action that happens whenever we're standing near a workspace. And it's quite convenient that the item doesn't try to go into our inventory, into our hands, or fall to our feet, but it instead goes to a workspace. So quite often, whenever I'm crafting, I want to have a single or perhaps three workspaces next to the character so that what he crafts can go onto the flat surface. Then I know exactly where to look for it. Now we haven't discussed yet what key we can hit to simply get an item from the world. So far we've used the wield key to examine what we can wield, and we'll soon get to more inventory related getting, dropping, and putting commands. But for now we don't need them. The only thing we need to know is that the where key works similarly to the wield key. If you remember, when we press the wield key, it brings up a list of all wieldable items, not just on the square we're standing. So the wield key looks at all adjacent squares and lists those items as possible wieldable items. The where key works the same way. When I press capital W instead of small w, it's going to give me the option to wear anything in my vicinity, or at least from adjacent squares, and my own inventory that I can wear. I actually think that I knew that you could straight up wear a sheet, but I forgot. We can put the sheet on. There were two sheets that came out of the window. We can put the sheet on, or we can put the makeshift sling on. So our inventory has been sorted out also by what we're already wearing. So it's not going to ask us if we want to wear the jacket that we're already wearing, and it's not going to give us the option of wearing anything that we cannot wear. It's going to give us the indication, by the way, that what we're trying to put on may have pockets. We've got encumbrance, coverage, warmth, bash, cut, and pierce protection and ballistic protection statistics here, but we've also got a storage tab, and it's listing the pocketable storage on the wearable item. So I'm just going to tap enter on the makeshift sling. And our tile set has indicated for us now that we're wearing the sheet. I'm going to tap the I key to check our current inventory and find that the makeshift sling, which we just crafted, is now among the items worn, and it's telling us that it has 10 liters of wearable capacity, 33 pounds of wearable capacity, and a max length of 19 inches, which is going to help us a lot. Now, I'm not sure how long a baseball bat is, but I suspect that it will fit in a 19-inch storage container.